So, Connie, I have to ask you a question. You went to the Chicago Auto Show. What did you think was the most interesting thing about that show?
What I think is really cool is they had a ton of different electric cars all in one place. They have a test track. You can drive everything from a Tesla Model Y and a Model 3 to the new Chevy Silverado EV. And I think there was something like 20 some EVs. Plus, Hyundai has their own test track for the Ioniq 5 and the Ioniq 6. So I think it's pretty neat that consumers can go drive all those different EVs. Oh, and the Cadillac IQ or the Escalade IQ and the Cybertruck. I loved seeing those for the first time.
But it was really cool to see some of those future and futuristic electric vehicles at the Chicago Auto Show. I know there probably must have been a line around the block to see that Cybertruck every day that the show was open. I also liked that Ford had some electric drives and non-electric drives. I think they had non-electric vehicles driving as well. So there really was a lot of hands-on opportunities, which I think is one of the cool things about auto shows right now, is that it used to be the cars were static, they didn't move, and now they're building these indoor tracks, and there's fewer exhibits, but there's still more to do at any auto show. Chicago, which is wrapped, they've finished that show, but they'll do an electric drive in the summer, Chicago Drive Electric, and then there are auto shows coming up in New York and most of the major cities, Minneapolis and Cleveland and all those cities will have theirs. I know the Vancouver one is coming up for you soon.
We have the Vancouver one coming up on, I think March 20th is the first public day, but it is the first time it's back since before the pandemic. So we haven't had an auto show in Vancouver since 2019. So I'm stoked. I am going to the Vancouver Auto Show. I will be covering.
That's awesome. Yeah, I just came back from the Geneva Motor Show, and that was really interesting too. And I think car shows are either all about buying or they're all about introducing to the industry, which is really what Geneva was. It was less about buying, at least in my perspective, because some of the cars that they were exhibiting are not going to be on sale there. So that was kind of interesting. But I'll tell you that one of the things that they do in Chicago that I think is so, so cool is something called What Drives Her. Does that ring a bell? Like we've been doing in this podcast. And they they put some women on stage to talk about women in the automotive business and the impact that we're having and how we can support each other. And part of that goes to who we're going to talk to today. And that is that What Drives Her awards that recognize women who are having an impact in the auto industry. And the winner of the What Drives Her Trailblazer Award for 2024, the woman who is really blazing a trail and lighting a path for others to go forward in their careers, is today's podcast guest, Olabisi Boyle, who is Vice President at Hyundai Motor America. So without further discussion, let's talk to Bisi. So hi, Bisi.
Hello.
It's so good to see you here at the LA Auto Show. Connie, hi.
Hello.
So it's so great to be here in person together. We never get to do this. I feel like we're always on a Zoom. And anytime I see you, she's on a stage. So, because she is the resident rock star of Hyundai these days. And if you have paid any attention to Hyundai and heard about like being able to pay for things through the screen in your car, if you've heard about all the cool things they're doing with electric cars, if you've heard of it, you're going to tell us more. They're doing so many cool things. It's her. It's all her. It's all her. Well, and I guess you have the team.
Yeah, I have the best team.
Yeah, but there's so much innovation coming out of Hyundai right now, and I will say I love the team right now. Hyundai's always been good, but man, you guys are just rocking and rolling right now. So let me start off by saying welcome to What Drives Her, a podcast about women who are changing the automotive industry from the inside. Today's guest is Olabisi Boyle, who we know as Bisi, who is Vice President of Product Strategy and Mobility for Hyundai Motor North America.
Yes.
Do I have that right?
Yeah, it's product planning and mobility strategy.
Okay.
Product and mobility.
Product and mobility.
Mm-hmm.
Was it working for Hyundai a dream that you had when you were a little girl?
You know, this is what I'd say. So coming up, I grew up first in Lagos, Nigeria till I was 10. My parents got divorced, we came back to the States. And then I grew up in Harlem, in New York. And my father was an engineer. And I always, if I had to choose between science and math and reading and writing, I preferred science and math. And so I knew I wanted to do something more related to that. And my mom would always say, oh, it's because your father's an engineer. By the time I went to college, I knew there was two things. There was also I also have a creative side. So the way I describe it is form and function. And what I do love about the auto industry is, you have to have function in terms of AER and the motors and the batteries and the charging time and how fast you can do it. And do you meet your vehicle targets? And what's the 0 to 60 and what's the braking distance and all of that. So I call that the function, right? But then the form is, look how streamlined and sleek the Ioniq 6 is. That also, even in the form, it also helps us in function because it helps us in coefficient of drag and making a coefficient of drag of CD of 0.21. And so what I love about auto is that it brought form and function. And so I started at, actually after I worked in tech a little bit at IBM, between grad and undergrad. And then actually after grad. And then, but then I ended up in the auto industry at Ford. And that was where I really saw this blend of form and function. And so I was at Ford for 8 years and then at Chrysler for 12. And to be honest, I thought I was going to retire auto industry. And then we actually moved to California and my husband started working at one of the electric vehicle startups. And I just figured I'd take off maybe 6 months and then I'd also work with one of the EV startups. And then somehow I got connected with Visa. They found me and were interested in bringing someone with a car industry background to what they were trying to do with in-car payments and tokenized Visa cards, right? Mm-hmm. And to be honest, I got really excited about that industry. I had to learn. I had established myself as a leader in auto, and then now I was in a completely different place that has its own structures, payments. And I had to learn that, plus also bring the car piece to it and be adept at that. And so after 4 years, that was really exciting. I learned about fintech, I learned about IoT, I learned about tech, and now I was living in California where it's not all auto, it's actually, very tech oriented, obviously, because I lived in Palo Alto. Yeah. And then when Hyundai called, I was so excited in this new industry and I was doing well in it. And then at first I was kind of intrigued because they were still in California and a lot of the automakers are no longer in California. And so I kept talking for those reasons because it was interesting. Because other people had called me in between, but it was interesting. And then I got an interview with Jose Munoz, and I realized that would be a challenge working for him every single day. And it is.
Yes, I can totally see that.
But
Jose, it's true.
But that's what I mean. But that intrigued because I did not know who Jose was before that interview. Yeah. And then during the middle of the interview, I was just like, wow, he's kind of smart. And so I was just like, I'd get away with nothing. A good boss really pushes you. I would get away with nothing with that guy, and I don't. I like going next level. And this has been like complete next level. And then when I got here, I learned about our EC, our executive chair, which is, he's just a visionary, but a visionary and a good person of such good, decent character. And I like that, especially this time now in my career. I've been around a while. And so it matters to me who I work for and the respect that I have for you. And I have tremendous respect for our EC. And he has with his North Star vision to make us a smart mobility solutions provider and his commitment to the EV transformation, both in dollars, but both in strategy, it makes me just want to work here.
So having respect for the person you work for, that's an incredible measure that I think a lot of people forget. They fall in love with the job or the possibilities or where it might take them or the brand, but they forget to have work for somebody they respect.
Yeah. Well, it matters to me more now. I also have probably a little bit more privilege to like choose, and so at this point, I gotta respect you, or I'm gonna do something else.
That's, I guess, another point too. That's how you get good people to work for you, is by being someone they can respect. And it's amazing how many people never think about that, right? Yeah. Tell us about where you went to college.
Yeah. So back in the day, I'm an old lady now, but back in the day, there was this program I grew up in New York. And so there's a program called the 3-2 engineering program between Fordham University and Columbia University in New York. And so you spend 3 years in doing one of the sciences, and I majored in physics. And then you spend 2 years at Columbia in one of the engineering disciplines, and I did industrial engineering. At the end of the 4th year, you get the Bachelor of Science from Fordham, and I got it in physics. And at the end of the 5th year, you get the Bachelor of Science, and I got it in industrial engineering from Columbia. And then for 2 years, I worked at a company called GTE, which is now Verizon, on the East Coast. And then I went back to grad school. My husband and I met. We met at Columbia, and then we both went back to grad school and got our master's in mechanical engineering. And so so I have a master's in mechie, and then 2 Bachelor of Science, 1 in physics and 1 in industrial engineering.
Amazing.
Whew. And that makes me like feel dumb just hearing what you did. So that's incredible. Let's talk about you as a woman in this space. And when you first started in automotive, did you feel a little lonely? And why did you stay? It's a hard question for a lot of women.
Not a hard question. I just know the answer. I just don't know what I can say.
Okay. You say whatever you want.
I do
Feel
now.
free to
I
let
do
some
now.
bombs
I
fly.
do now. I do say whatever I want to say now. I know I'll be in trouble. Whatever. So let's put that in a couple of ways, right? So one of the reasons also I took this job at Hyundai is I do feel God has blessed me in my time of things I had to learn and go through at Chrysler, Ford, as a woman in product development and engineering, in manufacturing, that by the time I was this age, like the things happen. At that time, there were many times I felt isolated and alone and by myself. And now those same things could happen to me, and you'll probably feel isolated and alone and by yourself. So I'm just like, you can do it, but like, I ain't the Bisi from like 30 years ago. I'm the Bisi from now. And so I do felt, and it's actually something I told the people at Visa when they were like, what? You're going to leave us? That I now know, because I wasn't looking for this particular job. They came. And I feel, and this is just me, the same people have to have these same beliefs, that God put it in my face or in my way, because he was just like, whatever you'll have to go through, no matter how tough it is, in a different culture. Because actually, Ford and Chrysler are American companies, and this is a global, they were global companies, but still American companies. And this is not an American company, it's a South Korean company, right? Mm-hmm. And so that has also different nuances that can add to the whole situation. That, yeah, things can happen. I would say when things happened to me 10, 15 years ago, it could knock you down for something. It could hurt your self-esteem. You could whatever. And now when they happen, they're like a gnat. They're like, this is annoying, but it's kind of like you're in a car that is 600 horsepower, but you go in at like 50 miles an hour, and then someone thinks that they can pass you, and you're just like, honey, it's just my choice. Like, like I don't want to hurt your feelings, but if I want to like hit that gnat, like it's just me choosing not to do it. So don't get cute. And so now the same certain things occur, but now not only am I not devastated by it, but you're probably going to be the one that's going to walk away more upset. And I, as I was telling people when I was leaving the other company, is that I think I put it in my way because he gave me a way to grow, and he knows I can handle it, and it's now my obligation or my duty, so that other people who are 22 and then look up and they're like, oh my God, this is too hard, or this is whatever. Be like, no, look, she's loud, she does whatever, and she just acts herself, but she's competent, she gets things done. And because of that, they just deal with her.
And how did you overcome those times when you were younger that did pull you down?
I think I was so blessed that I had a mother that like stressed positivity, perseverance, resilience. And I'll just be honest, like Black women, you just have to know that. It's just like, you know, whether life is fair or not fair, it's just for you. It's just like, it is what it is. And you need to figure it out. And the thing is, I almost feel stronger and like such a top competitor now, because other people who are maybe more entitled, to some degree, they are more focused on protecting the stuff they have that comes with their entitlement. Whereas when you're never part of the club or the clique, you ain't never had no entitlement, and you have to figure out all these things to still have influence, but and still be productive and efficient and get things done. So now I have like all those skills. That's why I feel like I'm a 600 horsepower person, and you, because you've had all that entitlement, like even if you try to like throw arrows my way, I'm just like, bruh. I mean, I don't want to hurt your feelings, but you think you brand new and you don't think I can handle you easily. And so, and then that's why I feel, because I'm that way now, God was like, I've given this to you, so you're supposed to do this. Because then I can protect other women, or I can be like, nah, I don't like that. And well, I'm just going to talk to her, and you got to listen to me because I'm the boss. And before I'd be like nervous about that, or what would they think, and blah, blah, blah. And now I'm like, if you're upset about it, we can find a therapist, but I can't take on your issues.
Yes.
And I have the things that I'm focused on, and I'm going to do them because I got to get stuff done. I'm paid. It's not charity.
It's so hard how our society expects women to do that, to hold your hand through whatever's going wrong in your life, right? To nurture and take care, and over our own selves, in our families and our jobs, everywhere. And the strength to be able to say, I'll help you how I can, but your problems are not my problems, or, I can't do that for you. It's very hard for us to say
now,
no.
I won't do that with my family.
Right.
Yeah.
But I mean,
it's not so much that I'll do it at work, but this is what I mean. If you're upset that I got a job that you wish you got, and maybe she just got it because of diversity. It's like, no, sweetheart, I got it because I'm just better at it. And I could not say that so it doesn't hurt your feelings, but that's where you need to go see a therapist. That's the issues I'm saying I can't take care of. Right? Those issues. And before, I would worry about that issues. Oh, they're upset I got this, so I better. So it'd be like, well, you're just lucky you had the job. Don't be actually doing the job. Like, just be happy that you're there. And it's like, no, bro. No. This is what we're doing.
They say when you come across a woman in automotive, she is the best that there is, because she's had to work 10 times harder than everybody else to get there. And I think there's a lot of truth to that.
It is.
And that's why there's so many women who are rising to such high levels in automotive now. We're not quite where I think we need to be in terms of the C-suite, but we're getting there. And I will give props to Jose for hiring a lot of really great people. And women, a lot of great women.
He has a lot of great women in his life, his personal life, that he respects, and I think that's why he's open to that.
Yeah, but he also, would you say, this is my suspicion is, but what do you say? With a company like Hyundai, that's a foreign company that's never been part of the boys club, or the white boys club, or the country club, or whatever, do you see in that culture, maybe more of a sense of what you just talked about? Like, I've never been a part of that clique, so I have to work harder, I have to prove myself. Or
I'll say this. The EC is exceptionally progressive. The EC. And he's the leader of the company. Yeah. We have opportunities elsewhere.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Fantastic.
That's great. So let's talk about electric cars. And let's talk about all the things you're doing at Hyundai. So when I first met you, you talked about coming from Bisi and working on payment systems. And then in Chicago, in February, you announced Hyundai Pay.
Yeah.
So you can now, or is it, you tell
Well,
us where you are.
Okay.
Tell us where you are on Hyundai Pay and
Okay.
what that is.
Okay, so even before we get to that, just to
Okay.
talk about how the whole thing came together,
Okay.
right? So we're on this EV transformation journey, so to speak. And so what you find is, and again, Hyundai has put in the commitment on delivering on that journey in terms of world-class EVs, right? So, Ioniq 5 World Car of the Year, as you know.
Mm-hmm.
Next year, Ioniq 6 World Car of the Year.
Yes.
And Ioniq 6 is up for NACTOY finalists right now, that we'll find out in the first quarter-ish time frame. The reason I say that is in terms of battery EV, full EV, right? If you look at the penetration of EVs over the last 2-3 years, say 2-3 years ago, we were kind of like 1.9%. This year, let's call it 7-8%. By 2030, because of the mandates, we'll have to be kind of 60-70%. So if you look at that curve, it's pretty steep, right? So you're going from 2023 to 2032, it's really steep. And the thing is, what fueled that in the beginning to get from the 1 to the kind of 8% was early adopters, right?
Mm-hmm.
Want the technology, the hardware, right? So can I charge it 10 to 80% in 18 minutes? We do that faster than your iPhone. Can I, do I have AER, the all electric range? 303 miles on Ioniq 5, 360 miles on Ioniq 6, same platform, right? But the streamline, that's where you bring the form and function together. Mm-hmm. So we have delivered on battery EVs, and we will continue. New platforms getting better charging times, bigger batteries, more dense, and then AER. Okay, so the thing is, if I then also plot the curve of EV adoption when you move from early adopters to mass market, and then the plot of EV infrastructure, those curves are less steep. They're going to catch up, but less steep. Mm-hmm. So I call kind of the difference between the steep curve and those less curves the angst factor. And that's why you'll hear people talking now like, oh my God, EV should be doing that. So Hyundai realized this, and it's part of our strategy and part of the things that we talk about, right? And I think we've done like a really good job. We know the future of EV is electric. I mean, the future is electric. Mm-hmm. So we've done that. We're already on that trail. We give world-class battery EVs. So we also have a lineup, right, that says, how do we address the pace of transformation? Because that's why the angst is there. Mm-hmm. The future is electric, but the pace between those two curves, that is what's causing angst for some people, right? Many people, especially when we try to move to mass adoption. Mm-hmm. So we have an EV lineup that says, we got battery EVs, but we also have plug-in hybrids. We also, on our volume vehicles, we also have HEVs. We have fuel cell EVs. We have fuel-efficient ICE vehicles, one you just saw today with Santa Fe, right? Mm-hmm. And we have next gen and some of our core models coming out that are also ICE vehicles. Right. So we have addressed the pace of the angst, and we've addressed the future of EVs. Now the thing is, in this EV transformation, it's not just the product. Not only do you have to do product, you have to think about how we charge, how we pay, how we own. All right? Mm-hmm. The how we charge, you'll see that we recently made it out of home. We made partnerships with 7 other OEMs. I think you might have seen that. And we're going to have 30,000 chargers by the end of the decade. And we start doing that in 2024. And then we also want to bring flagship sites that we have called EPIT in Korea to North America for, while you're there, exclusive flagship sites that allow you to charge, maybe download over the air, things while you're charging to upgrade your vehicle and improve your vehicle and mm-hmm. add new features to your vehicle. And then also we wanted a charging system that can handle our 800-volt architecture that lets you do that fast charging, that DC fast charging. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And then we have in-home, where we have energy advisors, Hyundai Home.
I was just going to say Hyundai Home.
Hyundai Home, where we have energy advisors that will say, gosh, maybe you want solar panels to give you the electricity to charge your car, and maybe you want a battery charger, storage to store that energy to have it then go back to the grid when California needs more energy. Yeah. And by the way, maybe we use in-car payment to have your charge turn on and charge when it's off peak hours, So you're charging at a lower rate, and then you're selling that energy back to the grid. And you do it through this in-car payment that has your credit card, that pays your credit card, or you pay the system, either way. And we help you with your charger. And then this is all done with an energy advisor that tells you this is what you need for solar panels. This is the level 2 charger you need. And then we pile that on with, because when you do this EV thing, not only do you have to worry about the car, you have to worry about, they're like, how am I going to charge this thing? And so now we have where through Hyundai Home, you get a free charger, and you get a $600 off your installation. Nice. And so when you go through this new EV transformation, you have to think about how you charge. The how you pay was the in-car payment. But what we want to do is have people understand how in-car payment was. So we started off with parking. We work with Parkopedia. They have 6,000 sites, and through your unit screen, you can do that. So that was something
you can plug into the multimedia system. Where you want to park, and you can just pay for it and just drive.
And then you just get out of the car. It's kind of like Uber for parking, right? Yeah. And then now maybe we bring that into the EV charging network, so that it's Uber for EV charging. Because now you have to download all these apps. How do we bring those all together? You know, and then now maybe even while we're in the transition, the angst phase, we want to do it on ICE vehicles with fuel. Right? So now people are understanding the how we pay, and we take that. What we talked about in Chicago is the how we own, how we access. Affordability becomes more important once you move from early adopters to the mass adopters. So now you can buy a vehicle, you can lease it for 2, 3, 4 years, or now you can subscribe it. So I don't know if this EV thing's going to work for me. I put my credit card down for 20 days. It includes maintenance, insurance, and all of that. And I subscribe the vehicle. And then if I want it for another month, I can do that. If I don't want it, it doesn't work, I couldn't find any chargers in my neighborhood, no 2-3 year commitment. But now we add a incentive to lower the subscription price. And then if you want to buy that vehicle in 2-3 months, we give you a $2,500 loyalty coupon to lower the price. And so this whole journey means you have to think of it holistically. Not only the product, but how we pay, how we charge, how we own or access.
So thinking about the future and what it is, I mean, you're like an Imagineer. And it's just the greatest job. It's just, I envy you. I mean, I know Chris is here saying, she's got to go, Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for joining us.
Nice to meet you.
And we're going to hang out here just for another minute and chat with them.
All right.
Thank you for being here, Bisi.
Thank you.
And you can read more about Bisi Boyle on A Girl's Guide to Cars.
Thank you.
It's so lovely to see you.
All right.
Wow. You know, every time I get to spend time with Bisi, I walk away just inspired and like I feel honored to be in her presence because she's such a charismatic but infusive, enthusiastic human. And she just raises my mood. She raises my blood pressure, my excitement level. I just love being around her. I can see why that's probably one of the reasons why she's so good at her job is because she gets everybody excited. What did you take away from that, Connie?
Absolutely. I loved meeting her for the first time. That was the first time I got to meet her, and I felt honored meeting someone so prominent in automotive and so important. And I absolutely loved her attitude. She's enthusiastic and she's smart, and she's also very kind and embracing. She's incredibly kind and friendly, but I loved her attitude. She was kind of in her power. She's really strong. And she said something about leaving behind other people's baggage or not caring so much about other people's opinions or what's going on. And to me, that was just, it really resonated. She's just so powerful and smart. And it was an honor to meet her.
So many people will weigh you down with the things that they won't let go of. And it's hard as a mother, and I'm sure you've had this conversation with your kids. You have to make a choice. Sometimes you have to say, I'm sorry, I can't help you. And not that you would say that to your child, but you need to teach them that they need to say that to people who may want to bog them down with problems that aren't theirs. Yeah. And Bisi has like a very clear perspective on this, which is I'll help you as long as you'll help yourself. But if you're not going to help yourself, I'm not going to carry the load for you. And it's a hard thing for women to say because we're we are raised, so many of us are raised to be pleasers, to say yes, to be the helpful person. And so we feel guilty saying no. She does not.
Yeah, I love that.
I love that too. That was an important lesson. That was an
Mhm.
important lesson. And many thanks to Bisi Boyle for joining us here on What Drives Her, the podcast that focuses on women who are changing the automotive industry from the inside. Thank you all for joining us. From me, Scotty, Reiss, and Connie Peters, your hosts, from Jordan Almond, our producer, from Steph Howard, our editor, music by Envato Elements. Please subscribe. You can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Acast, anywhere that you get your podcast. We are there, and we'll see you next time.